The Strait of Hormuz has always been one of the most dangerous corridors on Earth. Nearly a fifth of the world's oil flows through this narrow stretch of water, and every naval commander who sails through it understands that the surrounding mountains and coastlines can transform into a battlefield in seconds. On this particular morning, the tension was already high long before the first radar signal appeared. At exactly 8 a.m., an American reconnaissance aircraft hovered quietly at 25,000 feet above the water. The EP-3 E-Ares II was performing what appeared to be a routine surveillance mission, scanning the Iranian coastline for signs of anti-ship missile batteries that could threaten the approaching carrier strike group led by the USS Gerald R. Ford. Its job was simple: map the electromagnetic environment and ensure that the fleet could move through the strait without sailing into an ambush. For several minutes, everything looked normal. The operators inside the aircraft watched their displays as the coastline slowly scrolled across the sensors. Intelligence estimates suggested that only a handful of active missile batteries were deployed in this sector. But suddenly, the calm shattered. The electronic warfare screens began lighting up with radar signals. First a few, then dozens, and then so many that the operators could barely keep track. Hundreds of fire control radars appeared simultaneously, all pointing toward the American fleet. It looked like every ridge and valley along the coast had come alive with targeting systems. If those signals represented real launchers, the carrier group had just entered the worst possible scenario, a saturation kill zone. Within minutes, a massive volley of anti-ship missiles could rise from the coastline and converge on the fleet. Even the most advanced naval defenses struggle when confronted with hundreds of incoming threats at once. The Strait of Hormuz is so narrow that maneuvering room is limited. A coordinated attack from land, sea, and air could turn the waterway into a graveyard of burning ships. Iranian commanders believed they had constructed exactly such a trap. Over the past several years, they had quietly expanded their coastal defense network. Much of that system relied on the Noor anti-ship missile, a weapon derived from the Chinese C-802 design and capable of striking vessels far beyond the horizon. But the real brilliance of the plan was not the missiles themselves. It was the illusion surrounding them. Along the Zagros mountain range, Iran had deployed a network of sophisticated decoy emitters designed to mimic the exact electronic signature of real radar systems. These devices could reproduce the pulse patterns, frequencies, and behaviors of genuine fire control radars. To any aircraft scanning the region, they appeared indistinguishable from operational missile batteries. The result was a digital mirage. Instead of detecting a few launch sites, American sensors suddenly saw hundreds. The U.S. commanders monitoring the situation faced a difficult decision. If the readings were real, the fleet was about to face the largest anti-ship missile attack in modern naval history. If they were fake, then committing valuable strike assets against empty mountains would waste time and reveal American tactics. But combat decisions rarely allow for perfect certainty. The data coming from the reconnaissance aircraft seemed undeniable. Within minutes, the order was given aboard the Gerald R. Ford. Strike fighters would launch to eliminate the coastal threat before it could fire. At 8:30 a.m., squadrons of F-35C Lightning II fighters roared off the carrier's deck and climbed into the sky. The stealth aircraft represented the cutting edge of American naval aviation, designed to penetrate heavily defended airspace, identify enemy systems, and destroy them with precision weapons before they could react. The mission plan was straightforward. The fighters would slip through gaps in the radar coverage, approach the suspected missile sites, and neutralize them one by one. But the moment the aircraft crossed the edge of Iranian territorial airspace, the battlefield changed in a way many American planners had not fully anticipated. Iran did not activate its radars. Instead of illuminating the sky with electronic emissions that the stealth fighters could detect and evade, the defenders relied on a different technology entirely. Hidden deep in the mountains were passive tracking systems that simply listened to the electromagnetic environment. These devices, derived from Russian designs, did not transmit signals of their own. They analyzed the faint disturbances created by aircraft electronics, tiny fluctuations in the radio spectrum that occur whenever advanced avionics are operating. Because they were completely passive, these systems were extremely difficult to detect. And once they locked onto a target, they could track it without ever alerting the aircraft being watched. To the pilots inside the F-35 cockpits, everything seemed quiet. Their warning receivers detected no hostile radar locks. But on Iranian command screens, the supposedly invisible stealth fighters were already being tracked. The Americans responded with a familiar tactic: electronic dominance. Moments after the stealth fighters approached the coast, EA-18G Growler aircraft surged forward to join them. These specialized electronic warfare jets carry powerful jamming pods capable of flooding the airwaves with interference. Their mission was to overwhelm enemy sensors with sheer energy, drowning radar systems in static and protecting friendly aircraft inside a cloud of electronic noise. When the Growlers activated their jammers, the electromagnetic spectrum erupted. Powerful bursts of interference spread across the region, and American commanders believed they had regained control of the fight. If the Iranian sensors relied on radio frequencies, the jamming should have blinded them. For a moment, it seemed to work. Then the Iranians changed tactics again. Instead of relying on radar guidance, they shifted to electro-optical and infrared tracking systems positioned high in the mountains. These sensors detect heat signatures rather than radio signals, making them immune to electronic jamming. The hot exhaust plumes of jet engines glow brightly in the infrared spectrum, even at long distances. Using these thermal images, Iranian operators began feeding targeting data directly into their missile systems through buried fiber optic cables that could not be jammed from the air. Suddenly, the American pilots found themselves facing a threat they could not hear. Missiles launched from hidden batteries deep in the mountains, streaking into the sky without the electronic warning signals pilots normally rely on. Without radar guidance, the weapons flew using inertial navigation updates derived from the optical sensors tracking the aircraft. The first indication of danger came not from cockpit alarms, but from frantic radio calls between pilots spotting missile trails in the distance. The engagement was turning into something closer to a close-range knife fight than a modern electronic war. As the situation deteriorated, the U.S. Navy deployed one of its most specialized platforms, the EC-37B Compass Call. Unlike traditional jamming aircraft that rely on raw power, the Compass Call is designed for what military planners call cognitive electronic warfare. Instead of overwhelming enemy signals, it manipulates them. Circling far from the main battle, the aircraft began scanning the Iranian command network. Most of the system's communication cables were buried underground, making them difficult to access. But complex networks often reveal small vulnerabilities. At junction points where fiber lines connect to mobile launchers or satellite uplinks, tiny electromagnetic leaks can escape during data transfers. These side-channel emissions can reveal information about the digital protocols being used. The EC-37B locked onto those faint signals. Using advanced software, the aircraft analyzed the communication patterns and reconstructed the authentication protocols used by the Iranian command system. Once the handshake sequence was understood, the compass call began inserting its own data packets into the stream, packets that looked perfectly legitimate to the automated fire control computers. This was not traditional hacking in the sense of shutting systems down. It was something subtler and more dangerous. The aircraft quietly altered the identification parameters within the Iranian targeting network. On the defenders' screens, friendly and hostile contacts began to switch places. One of Iran's own warships, the frigate Jamaran, was digitally reclassified as an enemy vessel. Meanwhile, an American destroyer was labeled as a neutral support craft. The deception flowed through the automated systems exactly as if it were real sensor data. Inside an underground command bunker, Iranian operators saw what appeared to be a verified lock on a valuable American target. Following standard procedure, they authorized an immediate missile strike. Several anti-ship missiles launched from the coast, but the guidance systems, operating on the manipulated data, ignored the American fleet entirely. Instead, they locked onto the heat signature of the Jamaran. Moments later, the missiles slammed into the Iranian flagship. The explosions triggered chaos within the command network. As the damaged ship struggled in the water, automated safeguards within the defense system initiated emergency reboot protocols to isolate the corrupted data links. During that process, the entire network temporarily shut down. For roughly 3 minutes, Iran's coastal defense grid went completely offline. That brief window was all the opportunity the United States needed. Stealth bombers already loitering at the edge of the combat zone moved into action. 2 B-21 Raider aircraft slipped silently into Iranian airspace, while B-52 bombers prepared to support from a distance. The Raiders did not aim for missile launchers or radar sites. Their target was the underground infrastructure that supported the entire defensive system. From high altitude, the bombers released heavy bunker-penetrating munitions designed to smash through reinforced rock. The weapons plunged into the mountain entrances and ventilation shafts of a vast underground complex known as Oghab 44. The explosions did not vaporize the facility in a dramatic fireball. Instead, they collapsed the tunnels and sealed the exits beneath thousands of tons of rock and debris. Missile launchers, drones, and equipment trapped inside the mountain suddenly became useless. The base was not destroyed, but it was effectively entombed. For the United States, the mission had achieved its objective. The immediate threat to the carrier strike group was neutralized, and the Strait of Hormuz was once again navigable. Yet the battle was not entirely over. In a final attempt to retaliate, a group of Iranian fast attack boats rushed out from coastal bunkers, heading directly toward the American fleet. Their strategy relied on speed and numbers. By closing the distance rapidly, they hoped to launch short-range missiles before the larger warships could respond effectively. But the carrier strike group was prepared for such tactics. The Aegis combat systems aboard nearby destroyers began tracking the approaching boats instantly. At the same time, high-energy laser weapons mounted on the carrier engaged the leading vessels. Thin beams of concentrated light sliced across the water, igniting fuel tanks and disabling engines before the attackers could even fire. Missiles and close-in defense guns joined the barrage, creating a wall of fire that the small boats could not penetrate. Within minutes, the assault collapsed. The surviving vessels retreated or burned in the water, leaving scattered debris and oil slicks drifting across the strait. As the smoke cleared, the radar screens aboard the Gerald R. Ford showed no remaining hostile contacts. The fleet resumed its course through the narrow waterway, escorted by destroyers and aircraft overhead. Far away, surveillance systems detected Russian aircraft that had been observing the confrontation from a distance. Tankers and escort fighters quietly turned away, and headed back toward their bases in Syria. With the Iranian defense network crippled and the engagement effectively over, there was little reason to remain. The battle in the Strait of Hormuz had demonstrated a defining characteristic of modern warfare. Victory no longer depends solely on firepower. Information, how it is gathered, manipulated, and weaponized, can reshape the battlefield in ways missiles alone cannot achieve. In this case, a carefully executed blend of reconnaissance, deception, cyber intrusion, and precision. Strike transformed a massive defensive network into a liability. The result was not just the destruction of equipment, but the collapse of an entire operational concept built around controlling one of the world's most strategic waterways. And for military planners everywhere, the lesson was unmistakable. In the age of digital warfare, the most dangerous weapon may not be the one that explodes, but the one that quietly rewrites the rules of the fight. If you found this breakdown valuable and want more deep dive analyses into the strategies shaping modern conflicts, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss the next strategic briefing.